Okay, chapter 2 of Parachuting Hamsters and Andy Russell. And let's talk about chapter 1. Remember, he and Tamika are going to visit her aunt in the city, and she said that her aunt is very particular about like manners and stuff like that, so he's not super excited about it. Okay, chapter 2 is called Make This Stop. It was a tall building. I think right at the end they got there. There it is. Aunt Mandy's building. Okay. It was a tall building set back from the street with a circular drive in front. Mr. Russell turned into the drive and stopped by the front door. A man in a blue and red uniform held the door open. Andy, Tamika, and Mr. Russell walked in. Andy and Tamika each carried a small suitcase. People in the lobby were hurrying to the elevator. Others were sitting in large, comfortable chairs. A small dog walked by, followed by a man holding its leash. "Can I help you?" a woman asked. She was wearing a blue and red uniform too and sitting on a tall stool behind a large high desk facing the entrance. Behind her were lots of small wooden cubby holes. Some had folded papers in them. "We're here to see the Taylors," Mr. Russell told her. The woman smiled at Andy and Tamika and said, "You must be the children who will be staying with them. Mrs. Taylor will be here soon." The woman took a large envelope from one of the cubbies, gave it to Tamika, and said, "She left this for you. It's something to do while you wait." Annie and Tamika sat on a couch in the lobby. Mr. Russell sat across from them. Tamika opened the envelope and took out 2 large coloring books and a box of crayons. "That's what she left us?" Andy said. "Your Aunt Mandy must think we're 3 years old." Tamika laughed. "Aunt Mandy doesn't know much about children. When I was 4, I spent the night here, and do you know what she bought for me? Diapers!" "Diapers!" Andy exclaimed in shock. "I hope you were polite and thanked her when she put them on you. I hope you said, 'Thank you for wiping my—'" "No!" Tamika said before Andy could finish. "Of course not. I told her I didn't need them, but I don't think she believed me. She put a towel on her living room couch and made me sit on it, and every time I got up, she looked to see if it was wet." Andy looked at his coloring book. It was unlike any he had ever seen before. Each page had outlines of parts of famous paintings with information about the artist. On one page there was an outline of a smiling woman. Andy colored her face green and her hair purple. He gave her yellow and red eyes, a blue neck, and an orange dress. "You're beautiful," Andy told the picture. Then he said, "Thank you." He tried to keep his lips from moving when he said it. "You're getting better at that ventriloquist stuff," Tamika told him. It almost seemed like the picture was talking. Andy pressed his lips together. "Hello, Tamika." "Hello, Tamika," he said, and tried not to move his lips. It's your Aunt Mandy. I'm so glad you could come." "It's your Aunt Mandy. I'm so glad you could come." Mr. Russell turned to see who was talking. He was facing the window now. "Oh my," Mr. Russell said when he looked through the window. "I left my car on the drive in front of the building. I should check with the doorman if that's okay." Andy and Tamika watched through the window while Mr. Russell spoke to the doorman. Then they saw Mr. Russell look beyond the doorman. Andy and Tamika looked too. Something tied to a small square of yellow cloth like a parachute floated to the ground. So she lives in like a apartment building. It's fancy though. Andy and Tamika ran outside to Mr. Russell. "What was that?" Andy asked. "I don't know," Mr. Russell answered, but here comes another one. Something tied to a small square of red cloth was floating down. This something was right above them. "It's furry," Andy said as it got closer. "And I see feet," Tamika added. It was just a few stories above them now. "It's wiggling," Andy said. "It's a live animal." He held his hand open and caught the floating animal before it hit the ground. Here they are looking up. Okay. "It's a hamster," Andy announced. "It looks scared, really scared, but it isn't hurt." The ends of 4-thin strings were each tied to one of the hamster's feet. The other ends were tied to the corner of a square of shiny red cloth. Andy hurried across the circular drive and carefully picked up the other hamster, the one with the yellow parachute, and announced, "This one's okay too." Tamika said, "Here comes another one." Andy and Mr. Russell looked up and saw it was way above them. It was tied to a blue cloth and was slowly getting closer. Something green followed. I'll catch the blue one, Tamika said, and I'll get the green one, Mr. Russell said. The doorman went to Andy and gently petted one of the hamsters. Look at this, Andy said, and showed the doorman the red parachute and how the animal's feet were tied to it. These are living things with hearts and feelings, and look what someone did to them. Tamika reached up and caught the hamster dangling from the blue parachute. Mr. Russell hurried across the drive, reached up and caught the one attached to the green parachute. Here comes another one, Tamika announced. Make this stop, Andy pleaded with the doorman. Make this stop. Don, don, don,